This episode of the Old Dogs REI Network is brought to you by Mino Studio.
In a world where jobs are how most people make money, one man, one desire, one challenge dares to break the mold. Welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network, where we don't work for money. Money works for us. Coming soon. Viewer discretion advised.
Welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network, where cash flow is king. Real estate investing, the means, so you can enjoy your retirement dreams. This is the show where we cut right to the chase. No sales pitch, no long monologues, just simple how-to real estate investing advice, so you can earn the passive income you need to enjoy your retirement today. And now, your host and chief old dog, Bill Manacero.
Welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network. I'm your host, Bill Manacero, and this is the show where 50-plussers and anyone else who wants to join us get solid, no sales pitch real estate investing advice to help generate real cash flow. This podcast airs twice weekly on Mondays and Fridays, and if you aren't already a subscriber, go to iTunes, type in Old Dog, spelled D-A-W-G, find our podcast, and subscribe. Well, we've got a great show ahead for you today. This is going to be fun. We have a young man who has developed a new app that is going to absolutely blow you away in terms of how it might be able to help you in your real estate investing. His name is Dave Lecko, and he is the CEO of Deal Machine, a real estate investing app that puts you in touch with your property owner via direct mail, phone, and email by simply taking a picture of the property with your phone. That's right. He's a graduate of Missouri University of Science and Technology with a degree in electrical engineering. David has worked with a company that re-engineered a GM SUV and a hydrogen fuel cell plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. He has worked as a network engineer for AT&T and developed a bulk mail application for the United States Postal Service, and has created innovative technologies to help fraternities and sororities to grow. David started out like a lot of us, reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and taking action by investing in real estate. He began driving for dollars, writing down addresses of interesting properties, and looking up the owners at home after driving. Realizing that finding the owners was taking too long, David went to work on a solution, a technological solution, and the outcome came out as Deal Machine app, which can look up a property owner's information in real time while you're still in front of the property. He launched Deal Machine in the summer of 2017 and has taken off with great success. Well, David, welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network.
Thank you so much. It is a pleasure to be here.
Well, it is a blast to have you on. This is such an amazing thing. I want to jump into the app, but first, before I do that, I kind of give your background a little bit. I would like to know, how you got involved in real estate investing and especially with the background in engineering and technology. How did that happen? So maybe just give us a little bit about your background, where you grew up, what you did that brought you to this place.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, and after college, I made this application for fraternities and sororities, and that kind of turned into my full-time job. We moved out to Indiana because a lot of the fraternity and sorority headquarters are there. And then we ended up getting picked up by this company who teaches fraternities and sororities how to recruit. And so I spent the next 4 or 5 years working for them, on this technology. And now it's used by over, half of the fraternities and sororities around the country. And what I got involved with was, I was a little bit entrepreneurial there, having started that application before I even had that job, essentially. But I knew that I wanted to have some freedom to be able to work on other projects like that whenever I wanted to. But I really didn't have the flexibility to do that because in order to, earn money at that job, I had to continue working on the fraternity and sorority application. And so one of the ways that I got turned on to real estate investing was reading the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And they also have this cash flow game that's a counterpart to it that I don't hear a lot of people talk about, but that was really impactful for me. You basically can log on and play for free. It's like Monopoly. And you start out as maybe a janitor or maybe a doctor. And you play with other people, and they are also starting out as some type of profession, and you compete with them to get out of the rat race first. So as you kind of roll the dice, you hit, you pass paydays, and you get those paydays, and then if you can buy, like a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house that it cash flows every month, you're that much closer to escaping the rat race and winning the game. And so that's really why I got involved with real estate. It wasn't simply just to retire, but just to kind of have the flexibility to, work on the projects that I wanted to. And so basically I went to my real estate meetup after reading that book. It was the end of 2015. And then in 2016, I started looking for properties. And at the time, I couldn't find exactly what I was looking for on the MLS. And so I started driving around looking for properties that might have been tax delinquent, look visually like something's wrong, like maybe there's a lot of tall grass, a lot of built up newspapers, or a stuffed full mailbox. And that's whenever I started, looking for those properties, writing down the addresses. And then I would want to come home and then look up the owners and send out some mail. Well, I ended up, maybe spending 4 or 5 hours of driving over the course of 2 or 3 evenings. But when I got home, I was making dinner, maybe going to the gym before going to bed. So I never followed through with following up the owners. And then 3 weeks later, I drove by, I happened to drive by one of these houses again, and I noticed that somebody else was renovating that house. And I looked down on my driver's seat, passenger seat, and my list of addresses was still there. I hadn't reached out yet, and somebody else got to the house first. And so that's whenever I paused in the process, and I ended up making a really basic, system that would allow me to input a property with my smartphone and then have the mail sent automatically. And so that's kind of what turned into Deal Machine. But I mean, the very basic version was just on my phone, and it was really just solving my own problem. And I didn't really anticipate that it would kind of catch on like it has. But it seemed like some of my friends wanted to use it too. So in 2017, we put it on the App Store, and then I actually quit my job. I bought 3 properties since then. So I quit my job, and then I've been working on Deal Machine full time ever since October of 2017. So that's in a nutshell, why I wanted to get involved with real estate in the first place, and a really, really cool project that I get to work on now and spend almost all of my time on, to help others do the same, and also to help me find more properties, as I'm definitely interested in doing that.
Wow. Well, this is an amazing thing. The thing that kind of blows me, with actually a lot of aspects of it. One, I think this is great. I mean, it's got to be great for bird dogs. It's going to be great for investors, anybody that's out in the field looking for properties that are off market. I mean, in today's market, I mean, that's really where you're going to really find the deals, is the off-market stuff. Through the standard method of going to a broker and hoping that they're going to put you, hand you a pocket listing, or it's just way too competitive right now. And so this is a great time for technology like this. What blows me away is that you can take a picture of the house or the property, and it will give you the information just from the photo. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's, kind of zoom back to when I was first looking at properties. I wanted my mail to be as personal as possible because I felt like if I'm spending the time to look and visit this property, I want every chance to get the phone call back from that person. So I was putting the picture of the property on my mailings, and that's kind of how it all started. And so I had designed the app in such a way that when you take a photo, then it can use your geolocation from the photo to give you a very easy way to confirm the address of the property. And so that actually looks like, if you've ever used Uber, you see this map on your screen, and you move the pin over to where you want to be picked up with Uber, which is like a taxi cab. And the app works very similar. You just move the pin over to the house that you took a picture of, and it will do a fairly good job of getting you close. So it's just very easy to move that over to the correct house. And then that shows you the address. And when you confirm it, then it shows you who owns the house and where they live based on what the county record would say.
That's amazing. Now, you can send out, it's built into this system, right, that you can actually send a postcard, a personalized postcard with not only the photo, but whatever verbiage you want on that, for that person to contact you. In other words, your phone number and what have you. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. So once you've got the owner's name and mailing address pulled up, which happens automatically, then you've got a button that says Start Mailers. And so the app will just start sending mail with the personalized photo of the property to the owner wherever they live. And then there's another button, too, that you can use to go ahead and search for the owner's phone number, email address, and any other properties that they might live in or have registered to their name. And so you can get in touch with them all of those ways if you want to, very easily, right from the app.
That's amazing. Wow, that is crazy. Now, if you're looking at multiple houses, are they thrown into sort of a database or something? How can you recall those addresses and phone numbers later?
Yep. So as soon as you add a property to the app, then it goes on your deal list. And you can search the deal list at any time. So picture getting an incoming phone call from somebody who wants to, sell you their property. The first thing you might do is ask what property they're talking about. And then you can simply just pull up your app and start to type in the numbers of that property, and it'll show you all those properties that you've added that meet that search criteria. So they live inside your phone, and you can access them on your app or your computer.
So I can search under street name. Can I look under basic descriptives for the property, like 3-bedroom, 2-bath? I mean, are there factors like that I can punch in and it'll bring up all of the properties that meet that criteria?
Yeah, especially if you answer the phone and they tell you their name, you could just type in their name and any properties associated with that owner will show up on your app too.
Oh, that's neat. So while you're talking to them, you'll get that additional information, right?
Right. So you can picture not only having the info to be able to talk about it, but also you can then leave notes right after the conversation as well.
Oh, that's great. Wow. This is really amazing. And with the direct mail, can you set it up that you, for example, maybe you might want to have a series of mailings? With most direct mail, that's usually what you have to do to get a response. It's not always the first card that they respond to, but maybe it could be the second or third or fourth card. Can you link it up in that regard?
Absolutely. So within the app, you've got a built-in mechanism to repeat mail every, I do 21 days. And then you can say, repeat this mail, 4 or 5 times. And then let's say you already have a CRM that you wanted to, say, okay, they didn't respond after 4 or 5 times, but I want to send them less frequently. Well, you can actually set up Deal Machine to forward deals to your CRM and then put them on like a longer term, longer interval mailing sequence that you might already have set up. So you've got multiple options. And we definitely recommend to send mail no matter what option you use, multiple times, as you mentioned. And it just takes time for somebody to finally feel comfortable to give you a call. And you kind of have to align the stars where they're exactly ready to sell and they're getting your postcard. So doing the multiple touch points is a must if you're going to spend time and money to even contact them once.
Can you customize the cards, at each level to have sort of a different message? Where the second one may say, you may recall I sent you this card, 21 days ago. Do you have that kind of flexibility?
Yes, actually, that's a new thing. You can actually customize those as templates, is what they're called in the app. And so you can customize the language that shows up on any of those mail pieces.
God, that's amazing. And it is also, it's a color postcard, right? So it's an actual color photograph of their home.
Right, on both sides. So it's a high quality inkjet color on both sides. So it has that picture of the house that you took, which looks a lot better than any other photo they might be seeing. And you can put like maybe a Google image view on it, but when you take the photo with your smartphone, you can really tell that you were there. And some investors even do a picture of themselves, kind of like a selfie with them and the property. And they are seeing that really gets the owner's attention because it's no longer, like a robot sending mail across town, like dropping a bulk mail campaign, but it's really, really personal. And so they know you were actually there, and that you're serious.
That's kind of a neat idea, yeah. And plus, if these folks are out-of-state investors, I know how I am as an out-of-state investor that, if I can see a current picture of the home that I own, that also can have some impact too, especially if it's really run down or something, looks really bad. You're thinking the property management firm is taking care of it, or that someone else that may have promised to take care of it is doing that. I think there'd be advantages just to see a current photo like that as well. Right.
If they live out of state, that is the most recent photo they've seen of their house. And it may be shocking if they don't know how run down their property looks. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And it's fun to get those calls too, whenever they tell you like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize.
That's wow. Now you have actually purchased your own properties doing this. Is that correct?
Yes, I have. And so the most recent one, I actually purchased for less than $5,000. This was a really special deal here in Indianapolis. And I'm planning on renting it for $1,000 a month, if you can believe that or not. Now, I am doing some renovations to it, but what I originally noticed, and it was August 2017 when I first noticed this property, I was driving around what's called the 16 Tech area in Indianapolis. And it's also very close to a university called IUPUI. And I liked it a lot because of those two factors. 16 Tech is a new biotech research center. So there's development going on. And this house had a tarp on the roof. And I was like, man, I definitely want to get in touch with this person because that's not right. If they have a tarp on their roof, there's very likely financial trouble there. And I just want to be the solution for them if and when they're ready to sell. And it turned out he received 4 postcards from me, and he actually contacted me in November of 2017. And he said, I'd like to get an offer on my house. And it was just as easy as, I asked him a couple of questions, and I said, would it be okay if I came down and took a look? And we set the time for 6 o'clock that evening, came down, took pictures. And the one thing that I was really, really excited about was, a lot of people only look at vacant properties. This property had someone living in it. So I think a takeaway for anybody listening would be, don't shy away from a property just because somebody lives in it. A lot of times they only look for absentee owners, but this was one of those cases where he had lived there for 40 years and he was ready to move into a facility where he didn't need to do, lawn mowing or keep up with any maintenance. And so that's ultimately why we ended up doing the deal. It was because, the last straw was he had surgery, and then he could no longer keep up with any of that stuff. So I'm really glad I sent him, 3 or 4 postcards instead of just one.
That is a crazy story. And talk about the cash-on-cash return. A property you buy for $5,000 that you literally pay yourself back in 5 months, not even a year, to get all your investment back. I mean, that is wild, man.
Yeah.
That's a home run, definitely.
It is, and I definitely wanted to upgrade it as well. I needed to upgrade it in order to claim that type of rent. So, the renovations I estimated originally at $30,000. But even still, if you think about,
oh no, it's still a great return.
When you're analyzing, I like to see the monthly rent is 1% to 2% of the total purchase price, and this property will definitely exceed that.
Man, that's awesome. Well, as an investor, you've experienced you met a need that you had as an investor, which is really makes it exciting. It's one thing to have some application that was developed by someone who has never been out there in the trenches, so to speak, and actually having to find those great off-market deals. But you have obviously purchased other properties to the point where you're actually able to live, independently, right? Is that correct? Your properties do support your life right now?
Right. So as far as I'm concerned, even if nobody else uses Deal Machine, it's been successful. It has accomplished what I originally set out to do.
Oh yeah, no, that's great, and now you've got this incredible app, which is going to generate additional income for you, which is pretty exciting too. And you can, are you going to continue investing, even though you may be, become, a new Bill Gates or something here?
Well, I definitely do want to continue investing because I think, a house is never going to go away. And an app may change, the market may change, the way that we look for properties may change. And I think, that's something we want to do sustainably and really do continue providing through the app and the technology company. But for me, I think I want to do at least 6 houses. So right now I have 3, but I want to do at least 6 houses because if I picture the security that would provide for, me and my family, my future family. I'm a single guy right now, but that's definitely my long-term vision, and I definitely want to continue investing at least to that point. And I think I'll reevaluate once I get there. That's
great. Now, one of the things that comes to mind for me, because I'm primarily in the multifamily space, how would this application work with properties that, anything from a duplex up to 100-unit apartments?
So the app actually does work for multi-unit apartments as well. I've used it in Indianapolis, and there's a 100-unit apartment that I've added, and I can see how much they purchased it for, when they purchased it, what type of mortgage they have on the property, and then I can also see the owner's address. So it works very much the same, and you can even use it on duplexes. So I've tried it on all of those different types of scales. It works pretty well.
Oh, that's neat. Now, one of the things I know that's a little bit more difficult is when you have like an LLC that owns a property. Does that make it difficult for you in sending out your postcards or getting the phone numbers?
Well, it used to. So we've always trying to add new functionality to the app. And so when we first started out, we were able to get phone numbers and email addresses of individual owners. And I am just happy to say that, we've added the functionality to be able to get the main contact of a business. And so because of that, we're gonna be able to get the phone number and email address of that main contact now. And so that's a new thing for the app that we're really, really excited about.
So it has like a skip tracing function as well.
Right. Yes, that's exactly right.
Wow, that is blowing me away. This is really neat. Well, as an investor here, I mean, this has got to be a great resource and tool for you. What's this thing going to cost me if I'm going to use this, on a regular basis? So how do you price it?
Great question. So we wanted the price to be really, really low compared to what a lot of people are doing with bulk mail in terms of what does it cost to get a deal. So the pricing to use the app is $49 a month and 99 cents per postcard. So the way the numbers break down is it takes about adding 200 properties to get a deal. And we would say you want to mail to them at least 3 times. And that's going to be a total of about $650 spent on Deal Machine. And so if you are spending $650 on marketing to get one deal, I know that a lot of wholesalers in Indianapolis would be really, really happy with that. Because on the bulk mail side, they're typically spending $2,500 to send out maybe 1,000 property mailers 3 times each. And so that's why I think the technology is so exciting, because it allows you to scale with a much higher return on investment than just sending out a bulk mail campaign.
And the 99 cents includes postage?
Yeah, it does. It includes postage. It includes the printing, the color on both sides.
Half the price is the 4-color postcard on both sides, and it includes postage. Yeah, that is definitely a good deal. And a customized photo on each. I mean, that is a really good deal. That's neat. Now, this is the thing that I thought of it when I looked at it. I go, well, the only thing is I buy out of state, so I'm only in Indiana or wherever it may be, once every 6 months or whatever it may be. But you were talking about you can use this application and get a whole army of bird dogs out there using it on their phones for you. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a really great method. First of all, driving, looking for properties, and it's just really hard to scale unless you have a system that allows you to take the manual legwork and tracking off your plate. And that's exactly what the technology does. You can add up to 3 deal finders, which are people that have limited access to your account. They add properties, so you get the photo and the property address added very quickly by them. And then you can go in through your login and just approve those deals for the mail to start going out, or to look up the phone numbers for the owners and then cold call them. So the application lets you do all of that, and then payment is typically important for, especially paying a remote team of people looking for properties for you. And so the app tracks and has detailed analytics about who added which properties, so that you can either pay, a fee based on the deals that you do to the correct person who added the property, or you can pay per lead that they give you. Either way, the analytics are going to let you do that very easily. So it's a system that allows you to find those properties, even if you're not the one looking for them. And that's really what allows you to scale this into something that will give you an extra deal per month or more.
Gotcha. If I wanted the phone number, I'm sitting in front of the place. That's also part of this app too, right? If there's a slight charge for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So getting the phone number is 99 cents as well. And that typically will give you 4 or 5 different phone numbers, including their mobile cell phone. And it also will give you their email addresses. And then also, anytime they file a change of address with the U.S. Postal Service, it's going to show that in the app too. So if you see that they clearly don't live in that property, but the county record says they do, this skip trace within the app can give you all this information. Plus, you've got the latest registered residence where they're receiving mail now. And so then you can just click a button to start sending mail to that location and get a hold of them that way too.
Wow, that's neat. Really neat. Our audience is primarily, folks that are 50 plus. Some are working but they're nearing retirement. There are others that are already retired. What advice would you give them in terms of getting started in real estate? as a guy that just started from scratch himself, that might be helpful for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So somebody today was asking me, where do you want to look for properties and where do you want to find deals? And so the first thing that I said I would do is get to know the people and places in your local market. And the way that I would suggest doing that is attend a local real estate meetup and start to ask questions. You'll find people there who are looking to buy properties. You'll find people there who are also looking to sell properties. But just getting a feel for where some of those good neighborhoods are and why they like those neighborhoods can help you then select, where you want to look for properties. Once you do, give that neighborhood a look, and then if you see any properties that do look run down, certainly add them to, your list of people you want to reach out to. And a good goal would be to add 200 properties, whether or not you're using an app or doing this yourself via other means. I think that 200 properties that look run down is a really good goal and a formula for getting that first deal opportunity. And then definitely repeat mail at least 3 times to those people, or whatever contact method that you're using.
Yeah, I have some direct mail guys that say that you should do it even up to 6 times, just as a regular process, because it's like you said, you hit them in the right time in their lives, and maybe they've just they've had it, some line broke, or some a tree root broke into the sewer system, or whatever it is. I mean, there are certain times where people are just they've had it, or they have personal issues and are going through a divorce or whatever it may be, and they just want to unload the house. Then that postcard sitting there on the counter is the opportunity for them to do that.
Right.
Where do you see your business going at this point? I mean, I guess both the real estate side, you mentioned you want to get up to 6 houses here. You're doing like 2 things at once. You've got the real estate investing, and you've also got this new company here that's launching this app. Where do you see this going in the next 10, 20 years?
The next 10, 20 years is really exciting to think about. I think right now the vision that we've set is for the next 3 to 5 years. And my partner and I, his name is Dave too, and I didn't speak about him yet, but he's really the genius behind all the technology that you see and everything the way it looks, and looks great and easy to use. But he and I have set a vision that, we are spending our full time on this business for the next 3 to 5 years minimum, and we'll be hiring staff members to help us continue to deliver great customer support. And we've got some things up our sleeve to make this type of deal finding even easier in terms of the driving. And so we're going to really, really focus in on that piece of it. And then we'll see what other pieces maybe we can expand upon. Because I think people always ask us, can we bulk add properties, or can we get a list of vacant properties? We don't do any of that right now, but we've got some more enhancements to make on the actual driving portion and adding deals that you see and building out teams that way too. So that's really where we're focused in the next 3 to 5 years.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah, that's always a challenge. When it does become public, or you're accessing public information, it starts getting more competitive, as opposed to driving down a street and you see something, like you said, that has all the earmarks of a property that may be distressed or available, and that I think is a real plus with this. Is that this is the old driving for dollars, driving up and down trying to find those deals, which I think is just a super tool that can be used for anybody that's getting started in real estate, or at any level in real estate. This is kind of zipped by here. I feel I kind of feel bad here, because I feel like it's almost like a commercial because I am so blown away by this application here that you would think that I'm on your payroll, and I'm not. So as everybody knows here, I just when I came across it, I go, this is really neat. This is something that I would love. As I'm looking for apartments as well, is have people in the field that could do that same thing and take pictures of interesting properties. One of the key things we look for are the value add opportunities. So if you find an apartment that looks like a C in a B neighborhood, that's hot. And to get a picture of it, to be able to see that comparison is invaluable, and as well as being able to access the owner that quickly. So I see some great stuff there. But this is our part where we call our wrap it up. We ask you a series of quick questions here so that you could provide resource information to our listeners. And if you are ready, we can go ahead and wrap it up.
All right, I'm ready to wrap.
Okay, here we go. Favorite real estate book?
So I like the book on estimating rehab costs by Jay Scott. And I use that for my project that I'm working on, that $5,000 house.
Oh, excellent. We had Jay was a guest here. So, that is an excellent book. And a lot of people don't know about that book. Usually, they know about his flipping book and so forth. But that's a great book.
Mm-hmm.
How about your favorite business book?
My favorite business book is The E-Myth. Are you familiar with The E-Myth?
By Michael Gerber, yes. Yeah, we're trying to get Michael on the show. Yeah, that's a great book. In fact, he even has a version of it for real estate investors, an audio version. I don't know if you know that, but he actually takes the principles of The E-Myth, and he kind of does a dual thing with some investors these guys are more like flippers that are using the E-Myth principles in their real estate business. So that's you can find that on Amazon. It's really cool.
That's awesome. I'm a huge fan of that main book, so I'll definitely have to check that out.
Oh, I love it. Instead of working, in your business, working on your business, his main focus in that is a great book. Most valuable website for success, of course, other than your own.
Yeah. So I've been a big fan and reader of a website called iwillteachyoutoberich.com.
Oh, wow. That is a new one to me. That's great. It's just spelled like it sounds, right? I will teach.
Exactly.
Okay, we'll have a link on it on our website in the show notes so people can access it. They don't have to try to write it all down. Was it I want to get? No, okay. Anyway, so we'll have that so people can get access to it. How about your favorite? Well, your favorite app is kind of funny to ask, but other than your own, of course, what do you use on your phone? Other than your own.
So I really like the Headspace for meditation app.
Oh, cool. And how about your favorite quote?
I think the quote I've been thinking about recently is that the secret to life is enjoying the passage of time, or something like that. But it really has been helpful for me to kind of prioritize, like what I should be working on, or what am I doing all this work for in the first place, and definitely to make time for things like relationships with friends, and also just reserving time for things that I enjoy. It's really easy for me to get caught up in work too much. So that's been something I've been thinking about for a while.
Well, that's great. That's something I know a lot of old dogs listening out there, we tend to do later in life as opposed to earlier in life. Some of the things that you wish you would have done, or it's really neat to hear that from a young man here that is, that has a lot of time ahead of you. You did be able to not get so caught up in the work aspect that you lose sight of the things that are really important. So that's neat. That's really neat. Now, this one here, our final question. If you lost everything, absolutely everything, every asset, every property, and all you have is holding in your hand is $1,000 in cash, what would you do with the $1,000 to relaunch your business?
Oh, man. Good question. And I think what I would do is I would try to live off that $1,000 as long as possible. And then what I would do is I would spend time writing content and then building an email list, so like writing blog posts in a specific, niche area to help people who, want to become financially free, in 90 days using a point-and-click app or something like that. And I would just really spend time, developing content for them, and then having them sign up for my email list so that eventually I could build a product that could help them. And that's how I would start the business. I think that there's so much value in like the long-term content and building that email list that you can communicate with at any time.
That's a great idea. Great idea. Well, how can folks get a hold of you? I'm sure there's plenty of people listening that, one, want to find out about the application, and they also, I'm sure, are interested in finding out about you. Maybe they're in Indianapolis, who knows, and may want to connect, grab coffee with you or something. But what's the best way for folks to reach you?
First of all, I would love that. If anybody's listening in Indianapolis, that would be so awesome to meet you for coffee. And the best way to reach me is our website is dealmachineapp.com. My email address is david@dealmachineapp.com. And would love to hear from anyone, even if you don't live in Indianapolis. Just would love to connect.
That's great. Well, this has all gone way too fast for me here, and I could ask you a ton more questions. But what's really exciting for me is knowing that you are constantly working on this app, and you keep upgrading and adding new features. So I think it's just a matter of time before I can find any apartment in the U.S. that is absolutely the best deal using this app here. So I want to stay up to date on your latest upgrades and some of the new features. But
of course,
we have our own little feature here at the Old Dogs REI Network where our guests get to just use their vocal cords here, okay, as a means of closing out our show by giving us their best old hound dog howl. So, David, I know this is strange, but that's what happens to you after a certain age. It's just we like to have fun here. This is a fun show, and we, the real estate can be fun, right? It's not just all numbers and stuff like that, right? It's like it's fun. So this is your chance to show us what the dogs in St. Louis and Indianapolis can do. Are you ready?
All right, I'm ready. Yeah.
All right, here we go. Oh, that was great. That was like a 101 Dalmatian howl, That was great. All right. Well, David, this has been a blast having you on here. And thank you for, sharing this information on your app and, just for doing that. This is something I think that's going to help a lot of folks out there that really, want to find that great deal. And sometimes you got to really dig to find it, but this is going to help that digging process a lot better. So thanks a lot for that. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
It's been my pleasure. And I also want to thank all our old dog listeners out there for listening as well. I know there's a lot of other things you could be doing right now, but the fact that you've taken the time to join us means a lot, and we greatly appreciate it. Please note everything we talked about today, especially a lot of these links and to David's website and the application and all of the various references and resources are in our show notes. And we're going to recap everything we talked about here in the show notes at olddogsreinetwork.com/blog. And just look for the show with David Lecko, and you can get all that stuff. So that is the show for today. Remember, cash flow is king and real estate investing the means. Until next time, keep moving forward, and may God bless.
Thank you very much for visiting the Old Dogs REI Network. We would greatly appreciate if you would stop by iTunes and let us know what you think of the show. We would love if you could subscribe to the podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and write a review. The more ratings and reviews we receive, the more visible the podcast will be to others. Thank you.